Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Matt Bernier. Race number 6 at Churchill Downs on Kentucky Oaks Friday is the Grade 1 Lot Troienne Stakes for fillies and mares. We take a look at the field. We see last year's Kentucky Oaks winner in here. That is the number 3, Abel Tasman, making her first start as a 4-year-old after a rock-solid second-place finish to the older Forever Unbridled in the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Distaff. Yes, you have to deal with a long layoff for this Bob Baffert trainee, but if she comes back in her good form, she's the horse to beat.
Yeah, no question about it. You know, I was a little bit, I don't want to say skeptical of her because it was hard to knock what she had done, but I wasn't the biggest Abel Tasman fan last year. I tried to find spots to go ahead and beat her, and then I was just way against her in the Breeders' Cup Distaff, and I have to be honest, I understand Forever Unbridled won the race. I was very, very impressed with the effort from Abel Tasman. That was her first start against older horses. It was after a little bit of an odd run in the Cotillion to come back off of a layoff after a couple of big races in New York. I think she makes a lot of sense in here. She likes the racetrack. If it does rain, you know that's not going to be an issue. Those are the conditions she won the Kentucky Oaks over last year. You brought up the layoff. That's not a concern to me. She's not going to offer any kind of value in a race like this, but I think she is strictly the horse to beat.
The layoff not a concern for Baffert if you believe in this formulator fact. He wins at a high percentage, but with a surprisingly good return on investment. Here's the formulator fact for Abel Tasman. Over the past 5 years, older horses coming off layoffs of 6 months or greater in dirt routes, 24% winners and a $3.43 return on investment. That's not a problem. But here's a question. We saw that she got a little bit rank in the Coaching Club American Oaks. We saw that she got a little bit rank in the Cotillion, and off the layoff, she might be fresh and pulling hard in the early portion of this race. Does that concern you? Because that seemed to be one of the flaws in her game last year.
Yeah, you know, if she does in either one of the races where she just pulls down the back, that's a major concern. But at the same, we've seen older horses as they can develop and be a little bit, they mature. They realize that they can get into the run a little bit earlier without pulling. I wonder if all of a sudden she starts putting it together mentally, saying, you know what, I can be forward, but I don't have to be crazy pulling the way that she was as a 3-year-old. If that's the case, and she learns how to sort of rate off of the pace, I think she's even more dangerous.
Let's see what the Timeform U.S. Pace Projector has in store for Abel Tasman in this spot, and they've got her in mid-pack. The number 2, Farrell, is expected to make the lead. Now, if it rains, I know Farrell is 2 for 6 on a wet track, but if it rains, I wouldn't be surprised if Wayne Catalano scratches, because you saw what she did in the Kentucky Oaks last year, and that was nothing. You saw what she did in the Bayakoa earlier this spring, and that was nothing. And last time out in the Apple Blossom over a good racetrack, I know she was in against Unique Bella and Unbridled Mo, but she didn't do anything. She doesn't seem to like a wet track. If it's dry, she could be controlling the pace, but she's just not fast enough on paper, is she?
No, I think even at her best, she's not good enough to win this race. If you add in water, I mean, she can't stand up on a wet track right now. I think I agree with you. If it comes up very, very wet, Connections just completely take a pass on this and say, we'll wait for brighter days.
Can Apology Not Accepted, the number 5, maybe crack the single race exotics at a big price? She's the longest shot on the board at 20-1, and I think she's a little bit dirtied up, Matt. The Hurricane Birdie was her first start off something like a 6-month layoff. They then ran her on a synthetic surface that she didn't seem to like. And last time out in the Double Dog Dare Stakes, she battled a pretty solid horse right into the ground, and it took an okay one in Valadorna to run her down. I don't think the race flow was in her favor last time out, and she might get a more comfortable situation this time.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, I thought that run at Keeneland was pretty big for her, all things considered, and she's run well at Churchill Downs in the past. You can see she has a victory to her name, and she's never been out of the exacta in 2 lifetime starts. Considering how fast they went early in that Double Dog Dare and that she was still hanging around at the end, if you think she gets a little bit of a better or more advantageous setup this time around, yeah, Apology Not Accepted. I don't know if she's necessarily a proper win contender, but I think she could certainly run 2nd, 3rd, or 4th.
Let's be honest. If Abel Tasman doesn't show up with her best, isn't Martini Glass the one that's supposed to take full advantage? Boy, has she had a great 2018 for Keith Nations, who's having a breakout year. All this mare has done is win 10 of 23. She's won her last 2 starts, 1 graded stake around 1 turn, 1 around 2. A wet track wouldn't bother her at all, and she's tactical. She might be actually sitting in 3rd on the outside of the 2 aforementioned speeds, and might even be able to get the jump on Abel Tasman turning into the stretch. You've always got to respect a hard hitter like this.
Remember last July when we looked at it and said Songbird almost lost to a horse called Martini Glass? She's no good. Well, look what Martini Glass has turned into. She's actually a pretty good mare. You look at what she's done in 2018, there's really nothing to knock. I felt like she ran really well in that Houston Ladies Classic. I know she didn't win that day, but I thought it was a good effort. And then she's come back with a couple of graded stakes races, one at Gulfstream, one at Oaklawn, one going one turn, one going two turns. To me, if Abel Tasman is not ready to go or she doesn't produce her best effort, the only alternative, in my opinion, is Martini Glass.
She beat 3 of these common foes in the Azeri. One of them, Streamline, is a nice runner as well. She was 3rd in this race over a sloppy track. A similar situation might occur on Friday. In the Apple Blossom, it looked like she was going to run for a brief instant, and she flattened out late. Her buyers just never seem to get higher than those high 80s, and I just can't see a high 80 winning the La Troienne on Friday.
No, agree 100%. She is rock solid. You know what you're going to get out of her. If I had to guess, I'll project that she'll run an 87 on Friday afternoon, and that's just simply not good enough.
Tiger Moth beat Martini Glass over a wet track in the Houston Ladies Classic, but I thought the rail was kind of dead that day. And while Martini Glass dove to the inside in late stretch, Tiger Moth just had the best part of it on the far outside after getting a good pace to run into. In 2 subsequent starts, she's been okay, not great, and she might be up against it from a pace standpoint here.
I also think with that Houston Ladies Classic, to me, it was the last move, was the winning move. She was the last one to come, and you brought it up. She was very, very well off the rail that day. I've never thought that she is truly of this caliber. I think they would be thrilled. She's already a graded stakes winner. If you get a grade 1 placing, I think they'd be very, very happy.
Let's talk a little bit about Salty. Stretching back out in her 3rd start of the form cycle, she is a graded stakes winner at 1 1/16. I'm not sure what distance is her best. She ran so well in races like the Coaching Club American Oaks and the Alabama at longer distances, but she's also done some nice work going around one turn. And something tells me that she's kind of a poor girl's version of Awesome Slew. She might actually be better around one turn. She's coming out of that Madison. I thought she had a lot of things go her way from a pace standpoint. That was a real bunched up finish. I'm not sure I want anybody out of the Madison.
Yeah, you want to talk about a blanket finish. That's what the Madison was. And with this horse, Salty, very late with the lead change down the lane. I agree with you. She had a very good pace set up in front of her. And I happen to agree 100% about what she actually is. I think she's a 1-turn, 7/8 kind of horse. I don't think she's good enough to run in a race like the Humana Distaff on Saturday, so I can't fault them for taking a shot here. And if you think that maybe this thing can fall apart a little bit, maybe she just gets a piece and they'll be thrilled. That's a grade 1 placing.
You and I are big fans of Ivy Bell, but this distance might be a little bit far for her. And Todd Pletcher, it appears, is going to cross-enter in the Humana Distaff on Saturday, and it appears he's leaning towards that spot. If Todd changes his mind and decides to run here, what do you do with her? Because she likes Churchill a lot, and boy, she broke a little bit better last time out in the inside information. The gate's never really been her best friend.
No, I've always liked her. I think she's a really nice horse, and now that she's with Pletcher, you have to respect her even more. I think if she goes here, she's a little bit more forward, even with her gait issues. Having said that, I am going full-blown fingers crossed that they decide to run on Saturday, because I think she's a major player no matter who shows up there.
I'm with you as well. I think she's going to be strong on Saturday. Let's take a look at our top selection for the La Troienne. We hate to chalk out on you on such a big day, but Abel Tasman, if she shows up with one of her regular run-of-the-mill races from last year, she's probably going to win this race. No disrespect to a horse like Martini Glass, who is my second choice. I went 3, 8, 1, and 5. Matt, top 4.
In this spot, I'm going to go 3, 8, 4, and 1. I kind of look at it and say, Abel Tasman, the only time she's never been in the exacta was her career debut. Otherwise, she's been first or second the rest of her career. And I think that last race, like I said, I was never a real huge fan of hers as a 3-year-old. Respected her, but wasn't a huge fan. I thought that distaff was a tremendous effort, and I feel like if she runs anything close to that, she's just better than these horses.
Is she a single in the multis despite the layoff?
She would be probably a lone A for me as far as ticket maker is concerned. As a B, though, I think Martini Glass is too sharp right now for me to completely pitch her.
Good to see Abel Tasman back as a 4-year-old at the scene of one of her greatest triumphs. Last year's Kentucky Oaks. She'll be odds on in the Grade 1 La Troienne on Friday. It's race number 6 on Kentucky Oaks afternoon with an approximate post time of 1:17 Eastern. Best of luck.